Before I talk on the subject of Agni Yoga and the beautiful, I wanted to make an announcement, and in that announcement to also share something with you. The announcement is that our latest issue of Meditation Monthly International is now available. And this is what I wanted to share. There is a beautiful short letter written by a 7.5-year-old young lad who is writing a note to the president of the Latvian Rourke Society. Imagine 7.5 years old. I'm going to read just a little bit of his letter. He says, "How do you do, Dr. Lukin?" That's the name of the president. He says, "You do not know me, but I know you. I have not seen you, but Auntie told me that you are the president of the Latvian Rourke Society. I, too, am his friend. He did not see me either. My name is Sergei Vital, and I am 7.5 years old. And I wish you would make a society for children, only not to babble, but to learn how to live better and to be good." So that's just a little bit of the letter, and Nicholas Rourke shared that letter in his book, The Realm of Light, and all of that is you're going to find in Meditation Monthly International, which is online now at the White Mountain website. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be including in my talk some writings from Nicholas Rourke about the beautiful, and in his writings he wants us to know that he's not writing about beauty, but the beautiful. And he compares beauty as a concept of art, whereas the beautiful is more, in my understanding of his words, more holistic. It's coming from within as well as without. So I'll be sharing some of his words on the beautiful, and then a poem by Tagore on beauty, and then some writings by Torkim Saradarian and a little bit of astrology thrown into the mix about one's soul note. So let me begin with what Nicholas Rourke has to say. He says, "Very often we are trying to discover how to build the next life, how to build the evolution to come. Well," he says, "that is our duty. And you will all very soon wish to build up your own lives." Now he's talking to his members, the original group of the Agni Yoga Society. And then he's also talking to his students that became internationally or otherwise worldwide. So his message, I feel like, is also directed to us. "And you will all very soon wish to build up your own lives, and certainly you will wish to build up a happy life. What is the best medium to reach this happiness? Well, fortunately," he says, "after visiting more than 25 countries, I can tell you from my own experience, it is only through the beautiful. We are divided in so many experiences, and yet everywhere is this same feeling of the beautiful. You note that I am underlining the beautiful and not beauty, because I am speaking not only about art or about some expression of art in music and drama and song, but I am speaking about the sense of the beautiful. And it is our duty to introduce in our lives this general sense of this great conception. So if we remember nothing more this morning, let us remember this, to introduce a sense of the beautiful into our lives. And when you wake up in the morning, like what I do is when it's warm and not raining, we've been experiencing wonderful storms this weekend. But I'll go out on the upper deck of the house and sit down in the chair, and I'm surrounded by wonderful pine trees and birds singing, and it's just so magnificent, and the blue sky. And before allowing the day to rush in and trying to destroy the moment, I think about what is beautiful, and I think about what it means to live the true self, the life of the true self. And then I let that energy come into me, engage in a meditation, and then before I step out of the meditation, I ask that I remember this and take that energy with me, which you almost have to feel that kind of energy. And when you feel the energy, when you forget, as that life is rushing towards you and trying to distract you from the beautiful, that energy is like it knocks on the door. And it reminds you about that moment in the morning. This is what the beautiful is all about. It's not about CNN. It's not about the wars and the civil unrest going on in Europe, and it's not about politics. I don't think that that's why we were born. To become embroiled in politics and separatism and anger and division. I think we were born into a body, into incarnation, so that we can really experience in the body what the beautiful is all about. And then Nicholas Rohr goes on to say the chief thing is for us to have this inner sense of the beautiful. So that's our challenge. Make a note of it. And this week, as you go about your relationships and your jobs and all your responsibilities, see if you can make a constant contact with the sense, that inner sense of the beautiful. He goes on to say in Asia, they speak about Agni Yoga, the teaching of fire. Is it something supernatural? No, they are explaining how to use this element of fire, the flame of space, this all-embracing element, and you will be told that very soon the era of flame is approaching our land. In Asia, for ages and ages, they have spoken about this same beautiful energy. And this discovery will soon be given to humanity. I couldn't help but relate his sense of the future, what is coming, with an event that confirmed Nicholas Rohr's insight about the flame of the future. I received a most incredible email this morning. It was so uplifting, from a co-worker in Italy. And she's part of a focus group that we call in another group, not the White Mountain group, another group, the Esoteric Education Service Group. And she wasn't able to be at the conclave this year, but she sent me a note when I returned home from Argentina that she wanted to remain on this educational service group. So I said, okay. So today, in her email, she's so excited. The first thing she did is she read the White Mountain Zodiac newsletter on the sign of Cancer and translated it into Italian. And then after she translated it, she began to study it. And the words inspired her to make some changes in her life. And these changes have to do with the fire of Agni Yoga. She says she wants to take certain themes from the teachings of Agni Yoga and begin to compile them in such a way that she can not only herself work with some of these beautiful disciplines found in Agni Yoga, but she wants to share them with others. And I was so touched. I was so touched by her words, and perhaps more importantly, her energy. It was so humble, and she was so sincere, and it was like a new level of awareness, came into her thinking. And she didn't take it in as a personal something or other, or that she was only going to engage in an experience that was self-centered, but it was something that would help herself as well as all of those people that she wants to share this beautiful energy with, the era of flame. So I think it is here. In the teaching, in all solemnity, the teaching reminds us of this. This is a quote that you're all going to recognize, it's familiar to you. With beauty we conquer. Through beauty we pray. In beauty we are united. So beauty is the path to cosmos. What is cosmos to us? Well, cosmos can be galaxies. It can be the sun, the moon, the stars. It can be the future. It can be higher consciousness. It can be greater spheres in the higher realms of life. All of these elements can be cosmos. But the way to penetrate into these different stages or stations, let's say, of cosmos, we have to find a path of beauty. See, it doesn't say a religious path. It doesn't say the path of a particular master or of a particular ray. It doesn't even give us a geographical map. It tells us that this path to cosmos is the path of beauty. And then we are given our own devices how we're going to find that path. So the path of beauty and the path of consciousness work hand in hand. So if our consciousness is attuned to the notes of beauty, then those notes will pull us into the right path. If we want to create a real life, a life of accomplishment, a life of success, of cooperative endeavors, then what must we do on a day-to-day basis? We must attune ourselves. See the influence of these words, attune, which is a musical word. We must attune ourselves to the real self every day. So that means back to the morning, back into that moment where for me I sit on the upper deck of the house and I think about, well, like over the weekend with all the storms, wonderful storms we have been experiencing, it releases a fragrance. It's not Chanel No. 5. It's not Christian Dior. You know, it's a simple fragrance that the pine trees release. That's beauty. When I hear the birds conversing with one another from their own songs, they didn't go to school to learn how to read music. It's all natural. That's their true self. It is the pine fragrance of these wonderful forests of pine trees that we live in, that represents the real self, this fragrance that the trees release, is the real self, their real self. So when we're told to attune ourselves to our real self every day, this means that we want to tune ourselves to the note of the true self, the fragrance, the color of the true self. Now, I know I'm speaking a little bit abstractly, and I'll bring it into the practical in a minute, but our higher mind loves the abstract. Our higher mind is like the light of the soul it moves into a state of ecstasy when you can see colors subjectively that cannot be yet duplicated in the physical world. You can run to any book by different artists and you're not going to find those colors yet because they haven't been, the humanity cannot see them yet. But when you attune yourself to your real self, then you're going to experience and bathe yourselves in these colors. And then you're going to discover these colors have a fragrance. And then you're going to recognize these fragrances in nature. And if you're fortunate to have the senses of your eyes, those higher senses that our eyes, we are told, can experience, then you're going to see these subjective colors. And when we attune ourselves to the real self every morning like that, then you know you must travel this path of beauty to cosmos. And everything that is out of discord with your real self, with the fragrance and the color and the beauty, of nature, you're going to be challenged to bring it back into a state of harmony, which is not going to war, not imposing yourself, but to be the example. Meditation, in other words, I'm sure you figured this out by now in my talk this morning, that meditation is a wonderful tuning process. We first relax our physical and emotional and mental bodies as if they were one instrument. It's like, I used to be a professional violinist, so tuning my instrument happened several times a day. When I practiced or if I went into rehearsal with the orchestra, the first thing you do is to tune your instrument. So this wasn't even a metaphor for me. I just knew sitting down for meditation, I had to tune my physical, emotional, mental bodies to what? What's the key note? What is the note of my instrument? Well, we have a note of the physical body, a note of the emotional, a note of the mental body, a note of the soul, a note of the higher self, the note of the true self. Wherever our consciousness is at that moment, when we sit down for meditation, is where we want to connect with. And then keep that connection, keep that resonance, the vibration, the energy of that note with us all day long. So, backing up a little bit, after we relax our physical, emotional, mental body, in time you're going to hear the note of your soul. You hear it in your ear. It's coming from inside your brain, and your etheric ear will hear it. And this will be the note of your human soul. Once this has been accomplished, then in time, as your consciousness expands, you're going to bring in a higher octave note. That will be the note of your solar angel, the note of the higher self. And if you are able, then the next step is to attune your consciousness to the note of the true self. And now you have created a perfect spiritual chord. See, this is not abstract. This is very real. It becomes real when you have the experience. You know, for example, when some people speak melodious like they speak like a melody, but it's not a monotone melody. They can raise their voice, they can lower their voice, they can be angry, or they can be beautiful. You know that the mechanism of their voice, of their throat center, is hearing the note of the soul, the note of the solar angel, at least those two notes, and are striving through, this is a new word, magnetic resonance, the note of the higher self. And then we think about, okay, so what? So the so what is recognized in, let's say, the artwork of Nicholas Rourke, or let's say the celestial music of the teaching. Hey, there's a magnetic resonance that activates your own soul note, or the note of your solar angel. And that's when those notes are somehow registered in your own mechanism, then you're drawn to the Ageless Wisdom teaching, or a particular path on the Ageless Wisdom teaching that resonates to your inner musical life, let's call it. So we start by putting our personality instrument in tune with the note of the soul, which can be determined by the sun sign, your sun sign. The constellation that your personality life was born into. I don't have time this morning to define that, but if you know the difference between sidereal and tropical positions of the constellations, then you know what I'm talking about. So this note is a note that reflects the beauty of your human soul. All that you do, all that you create will be a reflection of that note of beauty. So that means that whatever we do, whatever we engage in, whether it is a marriage, whether it is being a parent, whether it is our job, whether it is a leadership role that we're playing out in this life, the note of the soul will be permeated through all that we think and say and do. If your personality as a unit, as a one, is in perfect attunement to your soul, you're going to radiate that beauty to others in your walk, in your speech, in your creative and day-to-day activities. If your consciousness is tuned to your solar angel, you will radiate the beauty of that note and its color, we are told, for at least a mile in all directions. If you are an artist, an educator, a politician, a musician, a scientist, all that you create will be charged with this radiance, the beauty, the color, the sound of your solar angel. Now, if we can just use our imagination a little bit and think about the radiance of the teaching and the masters of the brotherhood, that's infinity. Okay, if you are a mother or father, and you are writing a letter to your son or daughter in college, now I know that that's exceptional. So let's say we're sending some email, okay? It's a little different. But when you're thinking about this, if you are a parent or if you're writing to students, see if you can't give them a surprise and actually handwrite a letter to them. And this is the point, that before you write that letter, sound your soul note. And let that note permeate your entire being. And then make the note of your soul charge every atom in your being by sounding the Om to the pitch of your soul note. Sounding the O to the count of 8 and the M to the count of 8. Then pick up your pencil and write your letter. And when your child receives your letter, he will be so inspired. And if he is in need of healing, he will be charged with healing energy. See, this is beauty, this is life. So, most of us don't even have a pencil anymore, or writing paper. So what's the next option is to take these steps and sound the Om to the note of your soul, O and then the M, permeate your entire nature with this sound, and then pick up the phone. Oh yeah, we still have cell phones that can allow you to talk to somebody other than get email and text and all that. Try it. It makes such a difference in your relationship with the people you're communicating with. Okay, let's say that you are an Aquarian. The note of your personality in this life will be A sharp. I'm just throwing a little bit of this out. If your rising sign is Aquarius, the note of your soul will still be A sharp. If you are a Leo, the note of your personality is E, the note E, C, D, E. As your consciousness advances, so does your beauty. As your beauty increases, your life becomes more vital and purposeful. You can listen to music that has the keynote of your human soul. Or if you can hear the note of your solar angel, find music that has been composed using that particular note. Or write your own music if you have that ability. When we read the poetry of great masters, for example, Tagore, we can see the beauty of God reflected in his writings and his poetry. And this is what he says. He says, beauty is in the ideal of perfect harmony, which is in the universal being. Beauty is truth's smile when she beholds her own face in a perfect mirror. Gross utility kills beauty. This is like being grossly mechanical in all that you do, say, and think. Kills beauty. We now have all over the world huge productions of things, huge organizations, huge administrations of empire, all obstructing the path of life, he says. Civilization is waiting for a great consummation, for an expression of its soul in beauty. This must be, he says, your contribution to the world. Well, many of us today believe that a new civilization is coming into being. Nicholas Rourke was very involved with making plans to build a new country. Well, I think that idea has expanded through many of those who were touched by his inspiration in such a way, and I won't explain that way, but in such a way that a new world is actually right now coming into manifestation. And this is why all the turmoil we're seeing and why planes are dropping out of the sky. Change is happening. It's going to happen for the better. Now he goes on to say, Tagore goes on to say, when man has the power to see things detached from self-interest and from the insistent claims of the lust of the senses, then alone can he have the true vision of the beauty that is everywhere. Then only can he see that which is unpleasant to us is not necessarily unbeautiful, but has its beauty in truth. He says, I believe that there is an ideal hovering over the earth, an ideal of that paradise which is not the mere outcome of imagination, but the ultimate reality towards which all things are moving. I believe, he says, that this vision of paradise is to be seen in the sunlight, in the green of the earth, in the flowing streams, in the beauty of springtime and the repose of a winter morning. Everywhere in this earth, the spirit of paradise is awake and sending forth its voice. So in Tagore's writings, we are inspired by the essence of what? His true self. In that inspiration, our divine spark becomes charged with the energy of Tagore's song, for it too wants to sing the song of self, the beauty of the infinite. Holy ones tell us that God sings. And when God sings, all comes into existence as the manifestation of his song. Isn't that beautiful? This beauty, this is beauty. Beauty is the outward form of God's purpose. So our soul adapts itself to the beauty of God. It becomes a form. Our soul becomes a form, an aspect of beauty. The form then recreates itself in the tapestry of all of our creative endeavors. Beauty expands our consciousness and causes us to move up the ladder of evolution. As we establish communication with the source of beauty, the beauty of our soul is released. Beauty enables us to contact the self, that true self within, which is the embodiment of beauty. Now, in the book, The Flame of Beauty, Culture, Love, and Joy, it reads this. It says, beauty is touched on a gradient scale. Sounds like the oven is going off. Beauty is touched on a gradient scale. We may say that on the first level, the expression of beauty is a melody. On the second level, it is a duet. You see the notes that come in now? The personality note, the soul note. On the third level, it is a chorus. On the fourth level, it is a symphony. On the fifth, sixth, and seventh levels, beauty enters into the domain of eternity. So that's from the book. We know that beauty contains a tremendous charge of energy. When we charge, when we are charged with a ray of beauty, can we say that we are being energized by the sun and the mystery behind that statement? That we are being charged by the mystery of the sun. It is an energy by which all people are charged. A beauty which can heal all those who come in contact with it. And with the Creator's creative labor, it releases the real self within us. After a person becomes a beauty unveiled, now this is us. This is our process, life after life after life. Our beauty is being unveiled. As this unveiling process occurs, there is less and less and less death. In other words, the matter side of life no longer has control over us. We read the stories about the masters. They come in and out of existence at will. They have what's called a Maya Varupa body, which they can manifest so that we can actually see them. Here and there and over yonder and back here again. They can be in several places at one time. But we do have to have the senses to see. So there's no death as we have come to know it. This person passes from the inside to the outside to shed his rays or her rays of beauty, and to be a path which leads us toward achievement. On this path, the one keeps his continuity. We keep our continuity of consciousness. And whether we are in incarnation or we are in the formless world, we stand as an ocean of beauty. This is our vision. So striving toward beauty leads us to the future. Each of us is a ray from the fiery source of all beauty. Now we are trying to go back home toward that source through what path? The path of beauty. For us, it is the path of Agni Yoga. From former days, perhaps the 15th century in Russia, there has come down to us a legend in which Christ is proclaimed as the highest guardian of beauty. According to this legend, when Christ was ascending to heaven, some troubadours approached him and asked, "Lord Christ, to whom are you leaving us? How can we exist without you?" And Christ answered, "My children, I shall give you the golden mountains and silver rivers and beautiful gardens, and you shall be nourished and happy." But then St. John approached Christ and he said, "O Lord, give them not golden mountains and silvery rivers. They do not know how to guard them. And someone rich and powerful will attack them and take away the golden mountains. Give them only your name and your beautiful songs, and give the command that all those who appreciate the songs and who care for and guard the images shall have the open gates to paradise." And Christ replied, "Yes, I shall give them not golden mountains, but my songs, and all who appreciate them shall find the open gate to paradise." And in closing, herein writes Nicholas Rourke, "If you have the essential and vital combination of religion and beauty, and you see that the highest symbol of religion becomes then the highest guardian of beauty." Isn't that magnificent? It's such an honor to be able to share the teachings, with one another. So as we move more heavily into what life is presenting humanity right now, our job is to carry the flame of beauty into that darkness.